Well guys, it is D-Day and I am surrounded by a 2004 Yamaha Blaster. I've got just about every piece that we need to build a complete Yamaha Blaster right here on the driveway. If you're wondering, yes, it took about 2 hours to set this up. And also, yes, my neighbors probably think I'm a complete nut job. But it's totally worth it because it looks really cool. So without further ado, come on in and I'll show you some of these parts. Now this is just gonna be a brief overview of the parts. If you're interested in more detail on any of this stuff, I definitely recommend you go back and watch the full series for this Yamaha Blaster. It's freaking awesome. But let's get started with, before we get started, are you really about to watch me go over this exploded view of this Yamaha Blaster without even subscribing? Unbelievable. Anyway, let's get started with the most beautiful piece, this engine. This is a stocker, man. For the first time, I think ever, no mods, no porting. Well, I mean, you got the exhaust on there and that's pretty much it. No porting, everything else is basically stock, fully rebuilt. It looks like a brand new unit. Just looks freaking awesome. Now moving on, got our Tusk handlebars. We've got a completely redone front master cylinder, Tusk clutch lever, got our Trail Tech, that's gonna be going on there, so we'll have a speedometer, headlight that we restored, some Torque 1 grips. I'm really excited try those out. Got our Maier front plastics, restored back plastics, the restored shocks. Man, these things, I'm shocked how the shocks came out. For real though, they literally look like brand new shocks. Got the gold spring on that rear one, got our wire harness, our redone thumb throttle. I'm gonna go over some of this stuff in a little bit more detail as we install it. We got our gas tank, and this is half of our graphics kit. I just taped them down because it's a little bit breezy today. Really excited to see what it looks like on the plastics. Then up here we've got our foot pegs. These are done in that mini texture black, really nice and grippy. And that I didn't get these coated until after sharpening them. So for stock, they'll be about as good as they can get. We've got our disc guards, we've got our A-arms. Everything has brand new bushings, bearings, wherever applicable. Everything is packed with grease. So everything is really, this is the fun part is today. Bumper, seat cover, wheels, got our front hubs. You can see I've got brand new Tusk disc brakes on there. Everything is coated, new bearings. Got our heel guards. Oh, I forgot to put the plastic heel guards out. See, I forgot something. You guys were right, I forgot. And all this stuff is zinc coated. Got our brake calipers, rear brake. Remember to put the axle out this time. And then we've got our Kenda claws and Kenda haddocks on the brand new pre-owned rims. They look like they're brand new. We got fresh powder coat from Bonehead Performance. It's gonna look awesome. And look at this frame, dude, in the sunlight. Looks awesome. It's gonna look really, really good, man. Oh man, it's really cool to do this. Well, I don't know why you guys are standing around like a bunch of union workers, but this quad ain't gonna build itself. So let's get started. I'm just kidding. Union workers work very hard too. But I did notice that not one of you showed up this morning to help put this stuff out in the driveway. That was a ton of work. But you're here for the fun part. Is that how it is? But I get it. Now, if you guys have worked with me before, you know I like to keep things organized. Except for my personal life, that's a complete mess. But you'll see, just like we had it outside, I've got everything laid out. And this is just gonna make things really nice so that when we're installing things on the frame, you just kind of take things piece by piece, and as you see the pile disappear, that can be really satisfying as well. It just makes things go easier. Up here, I've got the exhaust laid out, our brake lines, which, yeah, we're reusing the original brake lines. First time I'm ever doing that. Just trying to keep everything, pretty much stock for this build. We've got the carburetor up here. I've got my spec bolt kit. This is a really nice kit. It's just kind of like mix-matched random OEM style bolts, washers, crush washers for like the drain bolts. There's some plastic Yamaha fasteners in here. A really nice kit. You can pick these up on eBay. I'll have that linked in the description below. I have my OEM parts in here. There's some Banshee stuff in here too. Then I have like my random bolt bin. I've got all my zinc bolts right here. Got my Loctites, all that stuff. Got the black zinc, the yellow zinc, stainless steel hardware. There's more black zinc back here. This is like random stuff if I need extras. This is the stuff that's actually going on the bike. So this is gonna be another pile. I really enjoy seeing the pile disappear as it's going on the bike. And if we come over here, we've got the engine laid out. This is the first thing that I want to get in there. We've got a leak down test right here. So before we throw it in there, I do want to do a leak down test, especially because we used Chinese components on this, man. So we've got Chinese gaskets and stuff. I want to make sure this thing has no leaks before we go ahead putting it in the frame. So if you didn't get a chance and you want some more details on this engine, definitely go back to the previous video. I've got a much more detailed breakdown and you can watch me build this thing, but it's got a lot of cheap Chinese components in it. It's an R&D engine, so a lot of these components I wouldn't typically go for, but I'm gonna see what holds up. So anyways, I've got a leak down tester right here. I bought this on eBay. It was pretty cool when this came in the mail. The seller sent me a message with the package. His name's Paul. He said he watches my videos. I just thought that was really cool, just like a random item that I bought on eBay, and he just happened to watch my videos. But I think it'll actually be better if I bring you in close and show you how to install this. It's really easy. So this is the kit here. It's 70 bucks, and yes, I understand the DIY guys are gonna be like, oh man, you can get that stuff at Home Depot. You could build that kit for probably like 25, 30 bucks. I'm not really sure. This is the key component right here, this pressure gauge. But I mean, yes, probably for $20 to $30, you could build this kit yourself. But by doing it this way, Paul's taking the work out of it. He's already got all the correct sizes and stuff. The kit is for, what the heck is it for? 26 to 41 millimeter carbs, I think. So it's gonna cover a lot of different machines. It's not just one machine. And basically, in the past, I had my homemade kit that I'd been using, and I would modify it to fit the machine that I was doing at that time. Then I'd have to modify it back when I go to the next machine, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I could piece it thing together, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna try this kit. The only thing that doesn't come with it is this. And this is because we've got aftermarket components on the blaster. I'll show you why I have to use this. But I was able to get this at my local hardware store for $6. It's just like, they didn't have a straight up cap like this in 1.5 inches. So I just kind of made one with an end cap and this coupling boot. So I'll show you how this goes on. So the goal of a leak down test is to fill this with compressed air, about 7 pounds, give or take. And then you want that pressure to hold for at least a minute. If it starts to dip down sooner than that, you've probably got a leak somewhere, you know, whether it's a head gasket, base gasket, crank seal, and it's something that you probably want to address before you put the engine in there. So we have to block off the exhaust port, the intake port, and then we've got the spark plug in there blocking that off. So any place where air could escape naturally, you want to have that blocked off. So I've got this boot I'm going to put on the exhaust port, and this is the custom one that I made because I think really the way that a Yamaha blaster is the way you're supposed to do a leak down test is with this plug right here, and it fits in the exhaust port, and then this expands and it'll hold in there. But because we've got this aftermarket exhaust flange, that won't work. So I might have to take this exhaust flange off if this doesn't work, because I don't know if honestly, I'm not sure the exhaust gasket is airtight. So we'll see. We'll put this on here. This is certainly airtight around the exhaust flange, but I don't know if the gasket in between here is airtight. We're gonna find out. Now we're on the carburetor side, so we wanna block this off. This is where, you know, we've got all different size adapters and stuff. So whatever size boot you got here, if it's between 26 and 41 millimeters, this kit's supposed to be able to work. So basically, this just threads right into your gauge. And I don't know if you guys can see on there, but there is Teflon tape that comes on these. Teflon tape is kind of like a sealing tape. It's gonna help it from like any little tiny air leaks, because the whole point is to see that it's airtight. So if the gauge itself is leaking, we're not gonna have accurate results. So I'm just gonna tighten that down by hand. And now this gauge pop right in our intake boot. Now I'll have to spin the engine around so you guys can see it, because the gauge is on my side. We'll tighten this down. I've actually had these pop out and hit me in the face because I didn't have it tightened down enough. All right, now we'll fill this thing up with air. I'm gonna use my tire gauge because this thing is really easily controllable. You don't want to put a lot of air in these because you'll blow your seals out. So like I said, 7 pounds is about as high as you want to go. I can hear a leak already. That's not good. All right, so we have a small leak someplace. I can hear it. So what we'll do is we'll get a little bit of Windex, any kind of like spray soap, and I'll spray it, and we'll be able to see it bubble up wherever it is we're leaking. I have a feeling it's coming from the reeds. I'm almost positive that I can hear the leak coming from here. Could be coming from the gauge too. We're looking for bubbles. I see it. You see it down there? It's coming from the reeds. See it? Now, Now, if you guys watched the engine build video, that was the one spot where I was a little concerned there might be a leak, because believe it or not, the OEM, the manual does not call for a gasket there. So it's a spot where a lot of people will put just a little bit of RTV, but it shouldn't leak in a perfect world. But you know, I think probably because it's an older boot or something, I don't know. But I'm just gonna pop these 4 bolts off, put a little bit of RTV on there, or shit, maybe I'll use a gasket, and this thing probably won't leak after that. Easy fix, guaranteed. You can see the mating surface on this thing. It's a little bit tired. There's some marks and it's kind of flattened out. So that's probably got something to do with it. Like I said, I think if we had a new boot, this probably wouldn't be an issue. So I'm gonna put a little bit of my Yamaha 6B on here. Stuff saves the day every time, and we should be good to go. And these I'm just gonna bring in softly by hand. I'm really not gonna put any torque on them. And then in about 10 minutes, when the Yamaha has kind of like a little bit of body to it, it's firmed up, I'll come back and then I'll torque it down. And then I'll set a timer for about at least an hour, and then we'll come back to this and we'll give it another try. All right, well that's curing. We'll go ahead and move on to something else. We're gonna kind of go in a different order this time. You know, usually I like to get the engine in first and then move on to like the A-arms and other stuff. Let's start with the steering stem. Got a little bit of grease on there. I did put a new steering stem bushing in here. The blaster uses O-rings. It's like a different system than what I usually see. And along with putting in new bushings, I put all new tabs, plugs, any rubber bushings or anything that needed to be put in place. All of the pre-work is done on the frame. I went around and made sure that all of our bolt holes are large enough for the bolts to fit through. That's something really common when you get something powder coated, that the powder coat is so thick that you can't get the bolt through anymore. So I have a really cool tool that it cleans up the holes really, really easily. I will have that linked in the description below. I like to do all that ahead of time, so when it comes to assembly time, like right now, everything goes together nice and easily. I'm gonna get this grease zerk under here while it's easy access. And we're gonna go torque Nazi full effect today. 22 foot-pounds. And can't forget the cotter pin and our zip tie. What the f***? Are you serious? And our zip tie. All right, here we go. Bastard. We'll do our upper stem mount. I'm gonna put some grease in here. Now for this upper mount, I don't use that locking tab washer. I just put blue Loctite on these. I don't really have any problems with them coming off because taking off that locking washer thing is such a pain in the ass. 14 pounds, if you're wondering. And then up here, if you guys remember, when I pulled this off, a whole bunch of water came out of there and got me. Beautiful. What the hell? It's because there was no plug in it, so I did order the OEM plug. I'm really gonna go in a different order this time. I'm gonna put the handlebars in place. And the manual actually calls for the gaps in your clamps to be at the rear. And we're just gonna snug these down. Later on, we'll be adjusting them. And this is some tight steering. I'm not too worried though. I've come across this before. A lot of times when you have brand new bushings and all fresh powder coat, things are just really tight. After one ride, that'll probably be nice and smooth. It's just gotta break in. Let's get these brand new Torque One clamp-on grips in place. We are really doing things out of order, man. Grips is like one of the last things I usually put on. These are really nice clamp-on grips. It's not like the ODIs where there's a clamp on each side, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any issues with these twisting. I really doubt it. It's kind of nice, the little screw already comes with Loctite on it. Get that T1R nice and level. Well, these are definitely easier to install than ODI, and most definitely easier than installing traditional grips with grip glue. All right, let's move around back here, get our grab bar in place. I'm buying time here while our sealant cures. We've got a brand new XFR grab bar here. There was no grab bar on this damn thing when we got it. And man, when you don't have a grab bar, it really makes moving a quad around just a pain in the ass, I'll tell you what. These are nice grab bars, XFR. They make good stuff. I haven't used this particular grab bar yet, but all the other stuff that I've gotten from them has been really good quality. All these are getting Loctite. Grab bars are notorious for coming loose. Before I start tightening down a rear grab bar, I like to make sure it's all the way in the upward position because when you're lifting and stuff, that's the way the pressure is going to be. And it usually ends up working its way into that position anyway. So if you get it there before you even tighten these, I just like to do that. And while we're back here, I'm gonna go ahead, put the tail light in place. This is a brand new reproduction from Vito's. Looks like OEM. All right, I think we've got just enough time to hang our control arms, and then we'll be able to get to the engine. I'm putting anti-seize on all these bolts just so that the next guy that tears it down, this stuff won't be seized, because that does happen. These are the original A-arms. I've got brand new bushings from Vito's. Cleaned up the dust caps. They were actually in good shape. Hopefully this will fit. Sometimes with new powder coat, you gotta tap it in place. Man, it's like the damn A-arm is too wide. These are the ones that came out though. Look at that, man. It's really just like the A-arm is too wide. I wonder if this has a little bit of flex in it. These are the OEM A-arms that came off of this machine, so it has to fit in there. I'm sure though, if we play around with it, we will get it to fit. That's what she said. All right, A-arms are installed. All of the other ones went on really easy. This one was just kind of a mother to get on there. And if I do remember correctly, this one was tough to get off too. I had to whap it with the mallet a couple times to get it out of there. The other ones just kind of popped out of place. So probably just a manufacturing defect. And otherwise though, yeah, these went on pretty easily. I also went around, greased these up with the grease gun, and these won't get tightened down until the ATV is done, or at least there's weight on it and it's on the ground. Now for our leak down test, I think we've had plenty of time for our Yamaha to dry up. Let's go ahead and give it another shot. Here we go. All right, it's got just over 7 pounds, and already I can tell, well, I don't know. Another freaking leak? What the hell? Hell, significantly slower than before. It's weird. It's like almost inconsistent how it's going down. And now it just seems to have stopped. So where the hell? Could it be the Schrader valve? It's like completely stopped now. Interesting. Maybe the gauge was just regulating, but it doesn't seem to be moving at all now. All right, let's get the stopwatch going, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. We'll give it 5 minutes. If it's still there, or even close to that 6 mark, I'm gonna mark it a pass. All right, it's been 5 minutes and 35 seconds, and it looks like we've barely even moved. So I'm gonna say that is a pass. Since we had that weird regulation with the gauge, let's just make sure it's not broken and there's actually no pressure. Yeah, we're good. Nice. Okay, let's get this leak down tester off and get the engine in the frame. Dude, it is so nice working with this blaster engine because it's so light. It's just easy to maneuver. After working with the damn Raptor 660 engine, that thing sucked. I like to have a towel under the engine when I drop it in the frame, so that way, just in case it slips or something, it's less likely to nick up the powder coat. Get this front engine bolt in here. Now I can lift up the engine, pull this towel out, and there's another mount that goes back here. This one was actually missing. There was no bolt in this when I took this engine off. There were a lot of bolts on this that were either missing, or the ones that were in there were like real Mickey Mouse hardware stuff. A lot of stuff was just mismatched, and definitely one of those machines you have to go over everything and make sure everything's good. And even though these are locking nuts, I'm still putting blue Loctite on these because, well, 2-stroke. And I don't plan to tighten these down until all of the engine bolts are in place and this quad's on the ground. So I'm just putting everything in place. I'm getting ready to put the swing arm in. There's one thing I wanted to note before I did this. You'll see these kind of like recessions on this side of the engine. And on this side, you can see there's a spacer in there. This spacer was not even there when I pulled this engine apart. And when you do that, it causes like the incorrect spacing when you tighten up the swing arm bolt. So that believe it or not, that spacer is actually no longer available. So I had to make one. I used the old swing arm bushings. I just cut off a section and that should work fine. Let's see if we can get this thing in here without too much of a problem. I've got my swing arm bolt ready to go and I've got a shitload of anti-seize on it. This is a place where you don't want to skip out on the anti-seize, that's for sure. I'd really like to get this thing in tonight and then I'm going to sleep. I'm starting to get pissed off and tired. Damn it, my spacer fell out. Shit. Not having the actual spacer is definitely making this harder. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. All right, that really wasn't too bad. All right, one last thing, since that went together so easily. All right, one last thing, since that went together so easily. We'll put the shock in place. Son of a bitch. Come on, you mother. Don't make me regret this. What the man, bastard. What the dude? Why is this being such a bitch? Just put the shock in, they said. It'll be easy, they said. Are you kidding me? Come on. Oh, there we go. Bastard. Man, that was whack. Putting that rear shock on really was a pain in the ass. What the hell, man? I'm like, whoa, we did so good with the swing arm bolt. We've got to do the rear shock. We've got a pretty nice start though. Everything is looking pretty good. Our pile's getting smaller. It's nice to see things disappearing. I'm gonna call it for tonight. I have to get up early tomorrow and get my license renewed, and I'm not exactly thrilled to be going to the DMV. So I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, it's the next day. I want to jump right into the front end. Got pretty much everything we need laid out on the ground here. Everything is nice and refinished, man. This stuff looks so good. Let's get it on there. All right, let's see if we can kind of fly through this. I'm gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on both of our ball joints at the top and the bottom. These are more components that you don't want getting stuck. And up top, we've got this kind of through bolt design. And this bolt pops through here. I'll put a little bit of Loctite on here. And then we've got a washer, a regular nut, and we'll be putting a cotter pin in there after we tighten it. While we're in here, we'll place our tie rods, and I anti-seized the ends of these as well. The steering components. Sure, if you guys have torn down an old quad, these are areas where stuff can just stick and be a major pain in the ass. We're trying to avoid that for the next time, or the next guy, whoever takes this apart. Now I'll throw the shock in here. If you've noticed, I've got all of my hardware already sitting in the holes and stuff. Before I started the project, I like to go around and kind of get all the bolts in the right bolt holes and stuff, so that way I'm not constantly searching for the right bolt and what goes where. All right, I got the other side assembled. I went ahead and tightened down our tie rods and anything else that I could get tightened down right now. I also installed our disc guards and the front brake lines. And while I was at it, I put the front master cylinder on as well. All right, so now we can put our fresh hubs on. These are the original hubs, man. I'm putting some anti-seize on here. These are the OGs, man. I had them powder coated at Bonehead Performance. These spacers are redone by Motoblast. You can see all the bolts and everything. And then these are Typhoon rotors by Tusk. You can get them at Rocky Mountain ATV. Got new seals and stuff, new bearings. You want to make sure you've got your grease and all on your seals. There we go. Before the hub can be pushed all the way in, we have to put our caliper in place. You have to do this when you've got these disc guards on here, otherwise they won't fit. We'll bolt up our calipers back here. These bolts are both going to get blue Loctite. These will get tightened down to 17 foot-pounds. Now I can hook my banjo bolt up. Tighten it to 20 foot-pounds. And then we've got a washer. Put a little bit of blue Loctite on here. And our castle nut. And this will go to 51 foot-pounds. And I like to put a hitch pin through these. And ideally you want to face them this way with the opening facing backwards. Somebody actually pointed that out in one of my videos. If you face it a different way, you know, let's say it was faced this way, a stick could come along and snag through this hole and pull it right out. Even if you've got the zip tie on there, it's more likely that that could happen. So this is the way it should go. And we'll put a zip tie on here just to give it a little bit more security so that that doesn't come out. And then the last piece is our rock guard. And man, that looks way better than it did before. My gosh, can you even tell that these are the same components down to the bolts and washers? I mean, just unbelievable how much better it looks. All right, now we're gonna have to stop for a moment before we put this hub on. All right, just relax. We're gonna move forward, but we're gonna be putting on the TrailTech digital speedometer, and I believe the sensor goes right in this disc guard right here. So let's take a look at it. All right, so there it is. This is the TrailTech Endurance. I believe this is the most simple one that they make. So it can go on pretty much anything from what I understand. This is how it comes. You've got the TrailTech sticker. I actually like that sticker. Might actually put that on the quad. Comes with a keychain. Let's ride. TrailTech, pretty cool. And then here is our digital dash. We're not gonna worry about this just yet. And then we've got our instructions in here. It does come in 2 different languages, so we don't really need that one. Here's the English. And they do have in here for rotor shield wheel sensor. And you can see they show you're supposed to drill a 3/8 inch hole in the rotor, and then on the back side of the hub there's going to be a magnetic bolt, and then when they pass each other, that's how it picks up speed. Here is our wire and sensor. That's what will go through our rotor guard. And then they do have other methods to install it. Got this little mounting plate. This is the magnetic bolt in here, and then there's a tiny little magnet actually. If this bolt doesn't fit in your rotor, there's a small magnet that they actually say to JB weld to either your rotor or something on the wheel that's spinning. Luckily though, with our setup, we will be able to put that bolt in here, make things a lot easier. You see our rotor magnet right there. Throw a stainless steel washer on this. Put some blue Loctite on here. And then we'll thread this in place. That should be good. I don't think that one should really be like overly tight. So our sensor is going to go somewhere back here. I think where I'd like to go is kind of like up in this upper portion here, because I think it'll be most protected. We could go down here too. I guess down there would be pretty protected too. I just want to make sure that it's really protected. We want to save this thing from getting caught by a rock or getting snagged by something, because then it'll be freaking worthless. Now, as far as placing the distance from the sensor to the magnet, it's a little confusing here. It says, do not mount it so the magnet passes through the middle section of the sensor. So it kind of, the way that sounds, it's like it shouldn't line up perfectly with the magnetic sensor, but this is also a different sensor. There's different style sensors depending on which kit you get, and they're a little vague. I feel like they should cross, you know, like right on top of each other like this. According to that manual though, they're saying sort of to mount it not here, but right like this. So maybe we'll do that. I'll come just about halfway just to be safe. So what I'll do is measure the distance that we need on our hub, and then we'll translate that over to our sprocket guard. It looks like about 48 millimeters is going to be perfect. Now, unfortunately, after measuring this, it looks like I would have to be too low down here, and the sensor is not going to clear these two bolts. So I will have to put it on the underside, but that's still a very protected area. I think we'll be okay. All right, now they recommend that you use blue Loctite on this as opposed to over tightening. I've got Loctite on there, and they want less than 1/2 of an inch of a gap between your sensor and the back of the bolt. So we're gonna have to test it out, but I think pretty much flush will be good. I got it sticking out just a little bit. I don't think you want to be too close with this thing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's our sensor and the magnetic bolt. I think right about there is where they want it. It's like sort of passing not directly through the center, but a little bit offset. So we will find out once we have the wires hooked up and the dash on there. We can test it. All right, let's get this carrier in here. See how I have all my hardware already in place, so now I don't have to go looking at my schematics and stuff, wondering where bolts and stuff go. We've got these two, the Yamaha chain adjusters. Dude, I hate these things. I don't know why they didn't just use a roundhouse style. It's really, roundhouse is so much better than these Yamaha ones. They use the same thing on the Banshee, the Raptor. No, not the Raptor, but that one doesn't really have a good system either. Warrior, I think, has it. It's just a lousy system, man. It does not make changing the chain very easy. I've also got new bearings in the carrier, and something that's a good habit to get into is pulling the bearings apart, taking the shields off when you get aftermarket bearings. Almost no matter where you get them, they just don't pack the bearings usually. There's like barely any grease in them. So I like to pull them apart, and I pack the bearings, and I also will pack the inner lip of the seal and get them all ready to rock and roll for install. This is being a little stubborn down here, getting the carrier to fit between probably the chain sliders. So I'm just gonna put this little mini spreader down here, and that should give it just enough to fit in here. It was just barely making it. Use the old screwdriver technique. These are bolts you definitely want to anti-seize because it's a spot that you're frequently going to be adjusting. These will get a little bit of blue Loctite. Now this might end up moving around, but I'm going to tap this to its most inward position right now so that we get the most adjustability out of our chain. All right, now let's get the axle in place. Hopefully this goes together easier than it came off. If I remember correctly, and I do remember, this thing was a freaking nightmare getting the axle out. It was seized in there. Bitch! And this is the same axle going in that came out. It was only, believe it or not, it's 68 bucks shipped for a reproduction axle. So it was like almost not even worth it to get the thing refinished. It would cost more to have this re-zinc coated and to ship it out and to have it shipped back and everything. It just wouldn't have made sense. So I had Moto Blast just blast it and clean it, and then I I actually put heat paint on it after it was blasted, so won't be the most durable finish, but I just couldn't justify getting a new axle because this one is straight, it's in good shape, and I didn't want to spend even more money than the axle's worth having it refinished. So we'll see how this holds up. Thank God, man. Feels great. Got a nice primary drive aluminum sprocket. Compliments of Rocky Mountain ATV. You can spin our axle nuts in place. Probably won't spin these down or tighten them down anyways until the quad's on the ground. Why won't this seat in the seal? Oh, trying to get this sprocket hub to pop all the way in place. Well, obviously it ain't gonna work. Got one of the bolts. I just had that in place for the skid plate and it's holding it up. That's why you should always take your time when things just don't seem to be fitting. It could be something dumb like that. And if you were to like tighten the axle nuts and force something, that's when you end up breaking stuff. Putting grease on my splines for the hubs. I'm gonna try to keep these lined up with the sprocket hub. Make it look nice. I'm just gonna spin these hub nuts in place for right now, but these will be getting red Loctite, and I'll tighten these down later. All right, skid plate. These all get blue Loctite. And for this, I like to hold the plate up as I'm tightening down, because as soon as you hit a rock, it's gonna smash it into that upward position anyways. All right, let's get our rear caliper on back here. This thing really looks awesome. This is all vapor blasted by Moto Blast. This is the original caliper. Put a rebuild kit from Vito's Performance. Got all zinc plated hardware. And then this is just kind of a generic billet block off. And our pads are brand new from Tusk. They came from Rocky Mountain ATV. All this stuff is going to be linked in the description below. And I'm torquing these down to 17 foot-pounds. Now the rear master cylinder that came on this quad was an aftermarket, and it was kind of janky. It did work, but it really wasn't that nice. So I went and bought another aftermarket, and this has to be one of the best reproductions, I guess knockoffs you could call it. This looks just like an OEM all the way down to the little Nissan marking. I don't even know if that's how you're supposed to say that, but if I pulled this off of a machine, even this is the only giveaway really, is these kind of olive green and thick washers, the crush washers for your banjo bowl. That comes on aftermarket stuff, but that could have been swapped out. If I got this on a quad, I would guess, I wouldn't even think twice. I would think that this is OEM. So it's like good and bad. Nice reproduction, but it's a fraudulent piece. All right, let me get this on here. I'm putting a little bit of blue Loctite on these. You can actually see next to this one bolt hole, this hole right here, that's whoever put the other aftermarket master cylinder on, it didn't match up to the OEM holes, so they actually drilled a hole in the frame. That was another reason why I wanted to make sure I got the right stuff. So this may be an aftermarket, but at least it's the correct aftermarket. And these aftermarket kits come with a ridiculously long hose. All of them do, I noticed, which is no problem. But a lot of people, they don't clip them. They just kind of like wind them up and stuff. So I'm gonna get this reservoir about where it needs to go and clip it so that it's the right size. These kits come with so much hose that even if you messed this up, you could redo it probably 2 or 3 times. Now the brake pedal is actually integrated into our pegs. So I'm gonna get the pegs on there now, and these do get red Loctite. I like to put red Loctite on these anyways. I'm actually not sure if the manual calls for that, but I don't like foot pegs coming loose. Well, just when I thought this rear master cylinder was freaking sweet. The little clevis assembly is a little too long. So you see, as you push down on the pedal, the clevis assembly goes up. So in order to make this fit, it's literally got to be, this pedal has to be all the way up like this. And even then, it still barely fits in there. So we want the pedal to be about even with the foot peg. And it looks like we'll have to take about 1/4 of an inch off of this. That's really easy to do, no problem. Just gonna have to take it off. I knew I shouldn't have put fluid in here. Always test it first. I can't believe I didn't spill at all. Thought that was gonna go all over. All right, so it's this threaded shaft that we need to cut. So I'm gonna remove the clevis. I'm gonna cut about 1/4 of an inch off. Use the good old Milwaukee Sawzall. Now I'll run a thread chase over it so that we can clean up our threads. And purely just for rust protection, I'm gonna throw a thin coat of silver paint on the end of that. That's all it needs. All right, let's give this another try. Yeah, we're good now. See those holes line up nicely? Brake pedal is nice and even with our foot peg. I would still say that this aftermarket master cylinder is a win because it was $20 shipped with all of the components that you need. And I bet you it'll work great as opposed to the OEM one, which, I mean, that would work great too, but they're like a couple $100 to replace these. I'm gonna tighten down the foot peg bolts. The foot peg bolts, right? Tighten down our foot peg bolts. These go to 40 foot-pounds. Now put the heel guard in place. All of these, the heel guard, the foot pegs, they've got that mini texture black on it. Awesome, awesome finish. It's grippy, but not so grippy that it peels the lint off of when you're cleaning it, which is just a pain in the ass. I'm gonna tighten all this stuff up, and then I'll go around the other side, get the other foot peg and heel guard on, and we're about to put the exhaust and the intake and stuff on. That two-stroke exhaust kind of clogs everything up. So before I put that on there, I wanna run the wire harness and do all of our cable routing and stuff like that. That can be kind of boring, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that on my own, and then I will see you guys. We'll get that exhaust on. That's gonna look freaking sweet. Before I get started, routing cables can kind of be a hodgepodge, and if you don't know what you're doing, you might route a cable near your exhaust or something hot and it gets melted. So I'll show you guys, in the service manual, they actually have these diagrams and they show you exactly how to route the cables. So if you don't have a service manual, you can download these free. In fact, I might even find the link where I got this one. So I have, the Climber service manual, but really the OEM service manuals they're typically a little bit nicer. See, it shows all the cable routing. All those little, it shows you what goes behind, what goes in front, the frame rails and stuff. It really, it's super helpful. So yeah, the Climber service manual is great if that's all that you have, but the OEM ones are just awesome. So that schematic is gonna be my best friend for the next couple hours. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Man, did you think I would make this quad without designing some sick merch to go along with it? Project Blaster t-shirt and hoodies are available now in my Teespring store. The Yamaha Blaster came in some wild colors over the years, so I've made sure to include multiple colorways. All proceeds go to helping the channel. You can pick yours up with the link in the description below. Also, did you know that this Blaster is going to be featured in the next series of Top Quad? Top Quad is a series with multiple creators where we take machines and put them head to head. This year we'll be doing a mid-size sport quad shootout. We've got the Kawasaki Lakota 300, this Yamaha Blaster 200, a Trailblazer 250, and a Honda 300 EX. All the machines will have similar mods, will have multiple riders, and each rider will pick a machine at random before each event. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I hope to see you guys there. If you're enjoying this video so far, giving the video a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel, and commenting all help a ton. All products and tools will be listed in the description below. Purchasing from those links does help me out. It gives me a small kickback, and there's no extra cost for you. And if you're looking for a way to support the channel even further, there is the option to join. All channel members get guaranteed responses to their YouTube comments. I'd also like to thank the companies that helped to make Project Blaster possible: Bonehead Performance Coatings, Kenda Tires, Rocky Mountain ATV, Hermosi Throttles, Rocket Ron Racing, DRW Performance, Moto Blast, Zoom Zoom Parts, Power Sports Nation, and Vito's Performance. These are all companies that I trust, and most of them I use on a regular basis. Any applicable promo codes and links to their websites will be listed in the description below. All right, guys, let's get back to building this Blaster. Quite a bit of time spent on the wire harness. I'm really big on making sure that the wires are nice and tidy and everything is routed correctly. I don't know why, I just really like to do that. Everything came out really nice. I had to do a little bit of research. I spent probably like an hour and a half doing the whole thing. But I just wanted to make sure that my Tours delete was good, and also the Tours is hooked up to the throttle. There was a wire coming out of there. So I actually deleted that wire. You can see I filled the little plug. There was a hole for the wire. I plugged that up with some Yamaha bond, and it just cleaned it up a little bit. And most of this stuff is rooted in the OEM location. If there was anything I could find that, you know, seemed like I could make a little bit of an improvement, I did that. All of our cables are nice and free. And check this out. So smooth, dude. So I stopped before I put the Trail Tech stuff on because I wanted to do that with you guys. It's pretty cool. It comes with a setup for 7/8 inch bars and then fat bars, and then here's where the dash mounts. And it's actually pretty cool how it mounts up. Let me set the tripod up and I'll show you exactly how we're gonna do it. It's gonna go right here. It should look pretty sweet. So here's our dash mount right here. And you can see it'll slip over your bars. You can put it on this side, you could put it in front, or you could put it around the back, mount it back there. I think where I wanna do it is right here. And then your little dash thing mounts sideways like this. And then you can mount the dash right here. If I swing you around the other side, you'll get a better idea. All right, so I've got you guys kind of in the driver's seat. And basically, we're gonna mount this up like this. So it'll be peaking just over our bar pad. I think that'll have really good visibility. And I think this literally just snaps on. Okay, right about like that is where it'll be. I think that's a good spot. It's pretty much out of the way and it's easy to see. All right, let's put the mounting hardware in and then we can adjust it. All this mounting hardware comes in the kit. Right like that. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, the only thing that could make this better is maybe if I put some spacers and brought it up a little bit higher, maybe tilt it a little bit more. But I mean, honestly, I think that'd be pretty good. You're standing up kind of in the position where you guys are at right now anyways. So if I were to bring it up higher and face it forward, that'd be more for like if you're sitting down. So I think this is good. Next thing, I'm gonna run our wire that we drilled earlier. I think because this is going to be exposed to the elements, what I'm doing is sliding some heat shield over my connector before I plug it in. Putting a small amount of dielectric grease on here. This is just a good sealer and conductor. And we'll plug this in and I can slide the heat shrink back over the connector. And this is just gonna give it an added layer of protection because we're gonna be splashing some puddles with this thing, man. And finally, we can put on our exhaust. I've been waiting for this moment. This is the same exhaust that we pulled off, the FMF that came with it. Cleaned up really nice. I was able to polish and buff this area down here that had some surface rust on it. That probably will re-rust very quickly, but at least right now it looks really nice. And then the rest of it I just polished. And I actually put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. And what was so impressive about that is that all of it cleaned the inside of the pipe too. Every time I did a cycle, all of this black carbon was coming out. So I think that was actually really good for cleaning the carbon out of the inside of the pipe. Pretty awesome. Putting the pipe on a 2-stroke really just completes the look. There's an exhaust hanger that goes up here. I got a brand new one from Yamaha. The old one was starting to crack, and then they usually tear, and they're useless. Now I'll put the silencer on. I've already gone ahead and put this pipe connector on. This thing looks freaking beautiful, man. This is refinished by Moto Blast. He vapor blasted it. I was like, man, can you vapor blast this pipe so that I don't have to clean it? And he's like, yes, I can do that. It came out freaking awesome. They've got to remove this one bolt for the grab bar. And I did find, if you guys remember, in my video taking this off, I was asking if anybody knew where these grommets were. And I found them on eBay. I'll have these linked in the description below. They're like a universal, I forget what they're called now. It's like a snap O-ring or whatever, but it's got a built-in washer and they snap together like that. They literally fit on the FMF stuff. Perfect. I think it's like a universal size. So just a good thing to know. All of my exhaust components, I'm putting blue Loctite on them because this is going to be an area of vibration. Then this little coupling thing slides back over And then we've got 2 clamps. All right, exhaust is installed. Well, this has kind of snuck up on me, but we're actually at the point where we can fill this thing with oil, put the tires on, and give this thing its first test fire. All right, let's fill this thing up with oil. Rocky Mountain was kind enough to send me one of their oil change kits. They gave me some Bel-Ray transmission oil. It's 75 weight. I've never tried this before, so it'll be good to try out another brand. And then they also gave me one of their Tusk oil filters. These are really cool because you can use them. They're made of paper, and then when you're done, you just toss them out. You don't gotta worry about cleanup. All right, so this is a collapsible funnel. Just stick it in the hole. Manual calls for 700 milliliters after an engine overhaul. All right, that ought to do it. And we just take this paper funnel and could probably resell this. Right in the trash. Yeah. It actually is quite convenient. All right, let's get these wheels on here. These look freaking badass. Damn. Oh man, these seriously look so good. And I wanted to mention, these are a dual direction tread pattern. For hard pack, you face them this way, and for soft pack, you face them this way. And I figure we're gonna be probably in some muddy conditions and softer stuff, so that's why I set them up this way. There was another video where I installed these same tires. I think it was on the Predator. And people in the comments were like, oh, this guy's an idiot. You put on the tires backwards. It also would probably benefit us to put our fuel tank on for our first start. I rebuilt the petcock using a Tusk rebuild kit from Rocky Mountain ATV. And we've got a billet aluminum lightweight gas cap from Vito's. And that is lightweight. I measured it against OEM. If you guys watch the Voodoo Banshee series, where everything was supposed to be as lightweight as possible. This is the same mix that we had it in the first go around. Just putting enough in here that we can get it fired. And then we'll make a whole new mix. Now the plan is, if we get this thing started, really to only let it run for a few seconds. Oh, that was a little faster than I wanted. Because I don't have the hour meter for this yet. I usually have a whole bunch of hour meters. I buy them in bulk, but I guess I didn't have any left or I can't find them. So I've got another one coming in the mail tomorrow, and go figure, this will be the one that happens with, because this is the Chinese component quad, and I want to make sure we take account for every single minute that goes on this thing. So let's just fire it up. Let's make sure it starts, and then we can do the plastics, the skid plate, graphics, and this thing is done, man. Man, that is a tiny quad. All right, here we go. Let's make sure kill switch is not on. Ignition on. Should be good. I guess we'll try it with no choke first. Sitting in this warm garage here. Give her a couple primes. It's got really good compression, wow. I'm doing this to get the oil moving around inside, all over our gears and whatnot. All right, let's give her a shot. What the heck? That was weird. What the hell's the matter with this? Our kick return spring must have fallen out or some shit. Oh, what the f, dude? Are you serious? Oh, I'm half tempted to just... Oh, are you kidding me? I'm sure this is something dumb, but I want to start this tonight. This is freaking impossible. Always some dumb shit. That's all right. I'm gonna take this apart on my own. If there's got to be something like blatantly obvious in there that I missed and I'll show you guys what it is, and then we'll get it back together, and it'll be take 2. Just, what the
A few moments later.
All right, guys, I got it figured out. Check this out. All right, so here's our kicker shaft over here, and it would appear that the spring popped out of place. This is the little retainer hole right here. If you take this spring and wind it around to the top, it's supposed to stay in this hole right here. And I'm trying to do this so you guys can see. It's a little difficult. I can hold it with the pliers. But this spring is supposed to stay in that hole, and you can see it just slides out on its own. I don't know what happened, if the spring bent or what, but it just doesn't want to stay in this hole like it's supposed to. Now, I checked for damage on the inside of the case too. This is where the backside of that spring goes. I want to make sure, you know, if there's a stopper or something that keeps the spring from popping out, that wasn't broken, but this looks good. And also, if you look at the gasket, you can see it's kind of torn up in this corner. This is where the kicker gear goes, and that spring would be up here, and that's torn up because the spring popped out and dragged along that. So I'm pretty certain it's that spring. So I'm gonna bend the tab and try to make it a little bit more aggressive. And then I'm gonna test kick it without the case cover on and see if I can make it so that the spring actually stays in that stay without the case cover even being on there, because I don't want this to slip out again. This is just a freaking waste of time. So here is the spring here, and you can see just looking at it, it's bent back. And there's a score right there. Now, in a perfect world, if we weren't on time constraints, I would replace the spring. That's definitely the right move. But I want to get this thing together and running, so I'm going to straighten that out. And I might even put a little bit more of an aggressive angle on it in the opposite direction, just in an effort to get this thing to stay in there. And it really doesn't take much to bend that. All right, let's give this a try. No. Why don't you want to stay? What the f***? This is scratching up my case too. Well, at this point, all I can think is that maybe the hole is a little worn out, or the spring needs to be replaced. I'm not sure why it won't stay in there, but I found a roll pin that fits around this spring perfectly, and it fits inside this hole just barely. So I think I can tap this in place, and it'll make it so that that spring has real tight tolerances, and then it shouldn't fall out. Okay. Now that should not come out. It's okay that it's sticking out. There's nothing on the other side of the case that needs to be flush up against that. It should be good. The spring went all the way through the roll pin and seated in the case, but you can see it doesn't want to move at all. So I'm pretty confident that that is a permanent fix. What a colossal waste of time. But what are you gonna do? So I'm gonna get this thing back together, and then we're freaking starting this thing. All right, guys, it's the next day. We've got everything back together. Got oil in there. I tightened up all our bolts, and I even put the front bumper on. I'm thinking maybe the front bumper is why this thing wasn't running, you know? You gotta have the front bumper on there. All right, all of our kill switches are off. Let's pull out our Kickstarter, and for good luck, I'm gonna put the choke on. Give it a couple prime kicks. Dude, this quad is so small, my knee is like about to hit the friggin' handlebars every time I come up. All right, here we go. Yeah! Third kick. All right, I'm gonna kill it there. Like I said before, the hour meter will be here. It'll be here today now. So I'm gonna wait because I really, I'm planning to beat the crap out of this engine, and I wanna make sure that we get every single moment on that hour meter. I'm really curious to see how long this top end goes. See, man, now I'm starting to get excited. It's been a long week of work, but it is totally worth it. It's getting to the point where it's just really exciting. It's such a cool quad, dude. The thing is so small. Oh man, this is cool, man. I'm really glad that I can share this with you guys. let's get the plastics on. All right, we'll start with the rears. This has the airbox boot and airbox built into it. Hopefully that doesn't make this a pain in the ass to put on. Ah, you bastard. It's got this like rubber hook thing that hooks onto a stay on the frame. Does not make this exactly easy. There we go. Bitch. Like a glove. That was so easy. All right, and then we've got our K&N style air filter, because we wouldn't want one of those real K&Ns. Okay, and sadly, guys, we will be running an airbox lid. All of the quads for the Top Quad series have to run an airbox lid. So, at least it'll be even. I saw comments when I was posting pictures of this. People are like, oh, how come you're not modifying it? Why are you doing this? And this is why, man. We need a baseline. So, we got the exhaust, but everybody's got to have air filter lids because there's going to be a creek run. And I'm telling you, you'll want an airbox lid for that. Got brand new Yamaha heel guards. These were kind of looking tired on the old one. They were getting cracked up and stuff. And I mean, they're plastic, so it's like, how much protection do they really offer? But I will say, I'm sure that they will make a nice little mud guard. And I mean, when everything's bolted up, they do offer some protection. We'll move up to our tank. All of these black fenders are by Maier. You can pick them up at RockyMountainATV.com. Get this new hood on. We've got a brand new OEM key. Something about the OEM keys, they're just really premium, especially the Yamaha ones. They're so much nicer than the aftermarkets. It's just so nice. The fender bolts that come in that spec bolt kit are really nice. They resemble the OEM, but instead of using the Phillips head design, which you guys know I hate, they are Allen heads. That is a lot nicer. Whew, man, freaking exhausting pushing this thing all over the place to get pictures of it. Let's get the graphics on. And this is a question that I see in the comment section a lot. It's one, who designed your graphics? And two, how do you install your graphics? So if you watch this series, in the beginning, I actually show designing these graphics. So I design these, and then I use a company to print them out for me. So I'll do the design on the computer. I use Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. And then the company that I'm using now is 725 Designs. So I'll send him the designs and he will print them out and send them to me. So in the past I've used AGMX Graphics. Unfortunately, they went out of business. This is the first set of graphics that I've got from 725. The quality looks absolutely top notch. Now in terms of how I install this stuff, we're gonna need a good heat gun. This is lacquer thinner, and I just put it in a spray bottle. It makes it a little bit easier. And then any kind of glass cleaner is gonna work. Now, the first thing you wanna make sure is that your quad is nice and clean. So, of course we've got brand new fenders here. We've got completely restored rear fenders. So I understand that most people are not gonna be in that situation, but a lot of people buy a brand new quad and the first thing they wanna do is put graphics on. So regardless, you wanna make sure, just clean the entire machine. And then this is where lacquer thinner comes in handy. So lacquer thinner is just a great cleaner in general. It's not gonna harm your plastics. You wanna be careful what else you get it on. This will strip like spray paint and stuff off pretty quickly. It's pretty strong. So get it on there and wipe it off really quick. But it won't harm the actual plastics itself. So what's cool about lacquer thinner is that if you use SC1 or any kind of like detailer or like a product that leaves behind kind of like a greasy residue for protection, you don't want to put your graphics on top of that stuff. Lacquer thinner strips it off really, really well. So I'll just go around, spray down the fenders and wipe them off with lacquer thinner. Now my fenders are nice and smooth, but you may be able to see like these little imperfections here. I've already smoothed them out, but sometimes you'll get little scratches and gouges in the plastics and they'll have sharp edges. Before you wipe them down with the lacquer thinner, go around and make sure you don't have any sharp edges. Either like trim them away with like a knife or something, or a pair of dikes, and then go around with your lacquer thinner, because for two reasons. One, those little raised sections, they're gonna snag whatever kind of cloth you have and you're gonna catch lint. And then also when you lay the graphics on, they won't lay quite flush on the plastic. So if you can, just get rid of that stuff. Now is also a good time to remove any decals that you don't want anymore. If you've got a graphics kit on there already, highly, highly, highly recommend using a heat gun to remove it. Even if you can get it off without the heat gun, usually if you use the heat gun, there's no sticker residue left behind, or at least a minimal amount. This is a brand new, thin sticker from Maier, so it's gonna be pretty easy to come off. But like graphics, I'm sure you've seen it, they leave behind a ton of sticker residue. And if you do have a ton of sticker residue, lacquer thinner comes in handy with that as well. It cuts the old sticker glue really, really nicely and usually makes it come off fairly easily. I feel like Marty McFly with the Tacoma in the garage on an angle. I always wondered why in that movie they parked the Tacoma on an angle in the garage, like to make it look cool. Probably an ad for Toyota at the time. Just the stupid things that I think about. I also wanted to mention that it's a good idea to wear gloves when you're working with lacquer thinner. I've got like battle hardened skin from working with chemicals for years and drinking oil, but definitely I recommend throwing on a pair of gloves when you use this stuff. It dries your skin out like really bad. The blaster is covered in flat surfaces, so it's actually a really easy quad to put graphics on, at least I'm assuming so. If you have weird contours and stuff like Raptors where they have real sharp angles and stuff like that, heat gun is gonna be your best friend. So unfortunately, I'm not really gonna be able to show you guys how to work the contours and stuff, but when you do have tough edges and stuff, it may look like crap when you first put it on there and you're like, oh my God, you're trying to peel it away and stuff. Just don't worry. I've had super botched looking jobs, and if you just take your time and you use this method, you'll eventually work out the kinks and stuff. So I've chosen, I'll do one of these with you guys and then I'll do the rest by myself because it would take forever to film all this. But I've chosen, this is probably the most difficult one. All the other ones are completely flat. But we have this little kind of like crease in the fender here. So I don't think it's gonna be very challenging, but what the hell. So we'll go ahead and put that on. So we've already cleaned this off with our lacquer thinner. You wanna make sure your hands are nice and clean. I just washed them off. And then we're just gonna take our glass cleaner and put real thin coat. It does not have to be a thick coat of liquid. If you put too much down, don't worry. It's just gonna take a longer time to squeegee it out. Since we have that the soap underneath, it makes it easy to pick it up and move around. And if you push hard enough, you can even slide it a little bit. We're gonna squeegee out the water. I just use my hands. Put your palm down like this, and you push the water out. And then we'll hit it with the heat gun, and they'll be good to go. These were very easy to install. Just kind of keep like a decent distance here, depending on what heat gun you have. This one gets pretty freaking hot. I put it on low, and you don't want to hold it in one spot for too long because you can damage the graphics. And we're just gonna work out any bubbles or anything we see. And if you guys can see right here, I've got this crease. Now I could try to push and squeeze that out, but since we've got the soap under there, I can lift this up and then reposition it, start working it from the top. You wanna spend your time here. Don't rush with this, because if you have like corners and stuff that are sticking up, as soon as you go riding, dirt gets under the corners, or when you're pressure washing, water will go under the little lifted edges and stuff, and then your graphics look like trash after a couple rides. If you put these on the right way, spend your time, make sure all your edges are nice and flush, then these will last a lot longer. They'll be more durable. See, this came out really nice. Everything's laying nice and flat, no bubbles or anything. Let me go ahead and finish these up. it's sounding really good. I got it idling nicely. Looks crazy cool with the graphics, man. It's so cool to see the after and to look at my rendering from before. So it's like really, you know, what I had in my head and now actually seeing it in person. That is just, I just think that's so cool. Just check out, make sure the headlights work. Headlight, high beam, low beam. This is supposed to be an extra bright light from Tusk. We'll have to see what it looks like driving around outside. Just check the tail light. Oh yeah, man. I like tail lights, dude. A lot of people delete them. They're like, oh, tail lights are gay. But I don't know, man. I think it makes it look really mint. Let's see if the switches work. Let me turn the light off. See the brake? Rear brake. Switch works. Let's try the front brake. All right, dude, everything works. So I'm gonna give this 3 15-minute heat cycles. You can see we're working on 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So I'll let it run for 15 minutes, and every once in a while I'll come over and just give it a couple jabs. Sounds pretty good, man. That's really not too smoky. I think that's pretty good. I'm running it at 28 to 1. So like, sometimes I'll even run at 24 to 1. I'm not even gonna get into oil mixtures, but I like to run them on the richer side. I have them set up for that. It's not gonna be Fallon plugs, don't worry. But anyways, I went with 28. So I felt 32 to 1 would be a little bit too light, and I'm running AMSOIL Dominator. I love that stuff. I've got some right up there on the shelf. That stuff seems to be really good. It's a full synthetic oil. So I'll do these heat cycles here. Then we'll just take it for a quick ride. I just want to make sure that the gears work. We're not going to rip on it. That's going to be for the next video. All right, we are a few minutes into the third heat cycle here. It's like 30 degrees out right now, but I figured I put the fan there anyways. This is an air-cooled machine. I want to just let it sit there idling. I think it's about time to take her for a little roll. I say roll because that's basically all we're going to be doing. I want to make sure that the gears work and everything. There we go, get that light revved up. Sounds pretty good. Clutch feels good. All right, let's see what happens here. Second. You got to remember, everything is breaking in right now. Not just the top end. This is a whole new engine and everything. We're gonna take it easy. Start first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I think we're rich. And it's really getting choked down by that airbox lid. Oh man, that is not running very well. All right, well, we are definitely gonna have to do some jetting to that. Just out of curiosity, let's see what happens if we take the airbox lid off. Wow. You can hear the difference. Whoa, dude. That's insane. Holy shit. Damn, I know it makes a difference, but not that. Oh my God. This thing runs great now. Wow. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can tune this carburetor I mean, holy hell. I would have to jet it down so much. I feel like we're gonna lose so much power. We're lugging right now. Wow. Dude. Dude, this thing runs great. Wow, dude, I'm shocked. We're gonna go up and down the road. We'll go just one more time down the road. Dude, it runs freaking awesome. I can't believe that airbox lid made that much of a difference, dude. Like, what the heck? What a freaking difference, dude. Wow. Wow. Like, I knew that it was gonna make a difference removing the airbox lid, but that was a huge difference, dude. That was night and day difference, man. So I've been seeing a lot of new names in the comment section, a lot of people hopping on board. Some people are asking, you know, how come you're not modifying it now? How come you're not doing suspension and stuff like that? The reason that we even had the airbox lid on there is because this is going to be going into the top quad competition. We're going to do, it's a mid-size quad competition. It's Lakota 300, the Trailblazer 250, 300EX, and then this Yamaha Blaster. One of the stipulations is they have to have stock suspension, stock width, and we can have an exhaust system and an intake. But I had, you know, I'm making the rules. It's my series, so I had said that everybody has to have an airbox lid. And the big thing for that was we're gonna be doing a creek run. So we're gonna be going through some probably pretty deep water and a lot of splashing and stuff. And maybe these quads would be okay without the airbox lid. But the last thing we need is to have, you know, one of the quads suck up water or something while we're filming the series. So I figured we'd just do, you know, basically stock units. But I'm thinking that if I put that airbox lid on, we may not be getting any performance from the FMF pipe. I've heard from people in the Blaster community that putting the FMF exhaust on there is a major gain over stock. So I'm thinking that you kind of have to open up the intake. So maybe I'll modify the airbox lid or something. I don't know, but whew. What a freaking difference. You know, I didn't even think to check to see if the Trail Tech was working. I know you have to calibrate the wheel height, so I'll play with that later. For the most part, we are done with Project Ultimate Crispy Chicken Sandwich, the Yamaha Blaster. The only thing left to do is put on our DRW skid plate. These are, I kind of feel bad, these always kind of get left to the wayside. They don't really have their glory spot in the reel, and it's basically because, well, it's an unseen part, and it's one of the last things that I put on. I usually don't even put it on now because I like to do all my testing and everything. Sometimes you have to take out the engine or do something, I don't know, but it's just, the skid plate usually gets in the way if you have to do maintenance, so it's something that I don't put on until we're all tuned and everything. These are really nice. DRW makes it out of UHMW, which is an extremely durable plastic. It's about 1/2 inch thick, and they're very slick. So if you're riding on the sand or dirt or you case a jump or something, the belly of your quad will slide right over it. I really do enjoy running their skid plates. All right, guys, so that is it. Aside from tuning, we are done with the Project Yamaha Blaster build. It's the ultimate crispy chicken sandwich. That has to do with the series as well, so don't bust on me too bad, man. I just like to do themes. I think it's fun, all right? Just relax. All the companies that helped make this Project Blaster possible will be listed in the description below. I recommend checking them out if you're looking for any parts, services like suspension work or engine work. That will be in the description below. So until the next one, guys, peace out.